taste! That baby juicy taste! You know, excitement! Step into a Slim Jim!
If you grew up in the 1990s, you probably remember a wild mix of Saturday morning cartoon ads, sugary cereal jingles, and some seriously questionable commercials that somehow managed to make it onto your family TV screen right between episodes of your favorite childhood television shows. How did so much inappropriate content end up in front of kids? 3 main things happened in the 90s that created this perfect storm. First, cable TV was expanding rapidly, and regulations were looser than they are today. Second, brands were chasing that edgy, rebellious attitude that defined Generation X and older millennials. Even companies that used to be wholesome started making ads full of attitude and fake rebelliousness to compete with their rivals. Third, many advertisers figured that any publicity, even bad publicity, was good publicity. Some campaigns actually counted on being controversial or even banned to get more attention. Adult products like alcohol were spending huge amounts of money on major sporting events and primetime shows that whole families watched together. This meant kids were absorbing mascots and jingles for products they were nowhere near old enough to buy. Research later showed that children could remember these adult brand characters at incredibly high rates, sometimes better than they remembered actual kids' mascots. By the way, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying our content, and give us a like if this video has brought back some childhood memories. Number 10 on our countdown is the Calvin Klein jeans basement controversy of 1995. Calvin Klein released what became one of the most controversial ad campaigns of the decade. The commercials were shot to look like low-budget casting tapes with young models who appeared to be underage being filmed in what looked like someone's unfinished basement. A man's voice off camera would ask casual questions like, "Do you work out?" while the models posed in their jeans.
It's a nice body. Do you work out?
Kids saw these ads because Calvin Klein bought advertising time across youth culture media like MTV and magazines that teenagers read. The raw handheld camera look made it seem like something an older sibling might have taped over a sitcom, which made younger viewers curious about what they were watching. Parent groups and child safety advocates immediately called out the ads for looking way too much like the visual style used in inappropriate content involving minors. The basement setting with unfinished wood paneling and old carpeting made the whole thing feel like a predatory casting situation. Under intense pressure from retail stores and federal investigators, Calvin Klein pulled the most controversial versions. Number 9 brings us to the Budweiser Frogs campaign that debuted during Super Bowl 1995. 3 photorealistic swamp frogs would simply croak Budweiser in sequence. It was minimal, memorable, and apparently irresistible to children.
Bud.
Kids saw these ads because Budweiser spent heavily on family viewing events like the Super Bowl and major sports broadcasts. The frogs were cute and puppet-like, and kids started repeating the croaks on playgrounds, essentially turning an alcohol brand slogan into a children's chant. In 1996, researchers found that children aged 9 to 11 were more familiar with the Budweiser Frogs than they were with established kids' mascots like Tony the Tiger, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or even Smokey Bear. This finding spread quickly through advocacy groups concerned about kids being exposed to alcohol marketing. The study led to shareholder pressure on Anheuser-Busch to examine how their advertising affected underage audiences. The Frogs became one of advertising's most iconic alcohol campaigns, but also served as a warning about unintended youth appeal that would influence future alcohol advertising strategies. At number 8, we have the Tango Orange Man Slap campaign from 1992 in the UK.
For a quintessential tango taste sensation here. Why, yes!
The ad featured a fake sports replay where a topless orange-painted man would sprint into frame and slap a tango drinker hard across both cheeks. The tagline was, "You know you've been tangoed." Kids saw this ad because Tango bought broadly across UK commercial television, catching after-school and early evening time slots. The slapstick energy and bright orange color made it playground gold. The problem was that children began recreating the two-handed cheek slap, and they were doing it hard. Reports started linking this playground craze to actual injuries, including at least one perforated eardrum. Regulators and the company moved quickly to withdraw or modify the commercial. Later versions replaced the slap with less violent contact, like a kiss, but the damage and notoriety were already done. Despite the backlash, the campaign actually increased sales, proving that controversy could sell soda. For 90s kids, it was memorable because it literally turned assault into something fun and quotable through schoolyard repetition. Number 7 brings us to the Herbal Essences shower commercials from the mid to late 1990s. Clairol shampoo and body wash line ran commercials that pushed the boundaries of what you could show during family viewing time. The ads featured women in the shower who would gasp, moan, and basically act like they were having very intimate moments while washing their hair.
A new fruit fragrance and an exotic blend of organic fruit extracts for hair that's naturally beautiful.
The tagline was "She's got the urge to herbal," and the audio was unmistakably suggestive. Kids saw these ads because they ran during mainstream household product advertising time on primetime network television and cable packages that whole families watched. Many people remember awkward living room moments where parents scrambled for the remote control. The campaign deliberately blurred the line between enjoying a nice scent and sexual pleasure, creating double takes that drove word-of-mouth marketing. The exaggerated vocal performances made them impossible to ignore and guaranteed they would stick in the memories of an entire generation. These commercials arguably opened the door for more frank sensuality and beauty product advertising that came in the following decade. Number 6 is the Mentos commercials that started appearing in the early 1990s. Dutch candy company Perfetti Van Melle bought their European advertising style to American television with mini sitcom scenarios and aggressively upbeat jingles singing "Fresh goes better, Mentos fresh and full of life." The acting was so over the top and earnest that it created something genuinely weird. Kids saw these ads because mints were family checkout counter candy, so the company bought broad cable rotations. The spots featured simple physical comedy like disguising yourself with a tablecloth or rolling across a car hood to reach your crush. The commercials had a so bad it's good effect that people in the advertising industry were actually aware of.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
European producers trying to approximate American cool created something uncanny, like a robot trying to mimic human emotion. The earnest cheesiness felt like weaponized cringe. For many kids, the adult social situations like dating and job awkwardness felt oddly aspirational yet completely off-kilter. The ads seemed to teach that with enough minty confidence, you could fake your way through adulthood badly and still somehow win in the end. At number 5, we have the PlayStation Mental Wealth commercial from 1999. Sony PlayStation Europe released one of the strangest video game commercials ever made, directed by Chris Cunningham, who was known for unsettling visuals. The ad featured a pale teenage girl with unnaturally displaced eyes delivering a whispered monologue about human potential against a black void. The tagline suggested expanding your mental wealth through PlayStation. Kids saw this ad because gaming skewed young, and it also spread through bootleg VHS training and early internet clip sharing. What made it inappropriate was that it was basically nightmare fuel. The distorted facial proportions, whisper-like audio, and existential script were nothing like your average toy commercial. Sony was actively hiring avant-garde directors to give the brand cultural credibility, but this high-art strategy occasionally steamrolled over age-appropriateness concerns. The results was kids associating PlayStation with surreal dread and, paradoxically, thinking that made it cooler. The commercial has had a long afterlife in cursed commercials compilations on YouTube, where younger audiences discover it through reaction videos and continue the cycle of bewildered fascination. Number 4 is the "This is your brains on drugs" PSA campaign. The Partnership for a Drug-Free America created one of the most memorable public service announcements ever made. The original 1987 version showed an egg in a frying pan with the narrator saying, "This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?" But this PSA ran deep into the 1990s during kid and teen programming. A notable 90s update featured actress Rachel Lee Cook, who didn't just fry an egg, but smashed an entire kitchen with a frying pan to show heroin's destructive power. Kids saw these PSAs because drug prevention messages were routinely placed in youth-oriented cable programming and school assemblies. Multiple generations of school children watched that egg fry, often multiple times per year. The egg metaphor was intentionally blunt, and the Rachel Lee Cook kitchen destruction version tried to cut through message fatigue by adding shock value. TV Guide and Entertainment Weekly both listed the fried egg PSA among the top TV ads ever produced, which kept it in circulation and made it a frequent target for parody on shows like Saturday Night Live. Number 3 brings us to Bob Dole talking about erectile dysfunction in 1998. When Viagra received FDA approval, pharmaceutical company Pfizer hired former presidential candidate Bob Dole to be the spokesperson for their awareness campaign.
High blood pressure, diabetes, or even smoking. The point I want to make is there are many treatments available for ED, so my advice is...
Dole appeared in straight-faced educational TV spots urging men to talk to their doctors about erectile dysfunction. Kids saw these ads because direct-to-consumer pharmaceutical advertising surged after mid-1990s FDA rule changes, and companies bought time during news, sports, and high-reach programming that families watched together. This resulted in many 10-year-olds asking what erectile dysfunction was during baseball games. Pfizer hired Dole to reduce the stigma around impotence by connecting the topic to a respected elder statesman. The campaign played like a political advertisement, with Dole in a dark suit directly addressing the camera. Except instead of talking about policy, he was discussing male sexual health. Industry analysts credit this campaign with opening the floodgates for more explicit pharmaceutical marketing and normalizing discussion of sexual health during broad audience programming. The whole situation became a cultural touchstone for family television awkwardness. Number 2 is the Slim Jim commercials featuring Macho Man Randy Savage. In 1993, wrestling superstar Randy Savage became the spokesperson for Slim Jim meat sticks, and the resulting commercials were pure chaos.
Need a little excitement? Step into a Slim Jim.
Savage would literally smash through walls, ceilings, and social conventions to rescue bored teenagers from adult authority figures, all while shouting, "Need a little excitement? Snap into a Slim Jim." Kids saw these ads because research revealed that a large portion of Slim Jim sales came from teenage boys with pocket money and a taste for convenience store rebellion. The brand bought time during cartoon blocks, after-school syndication, and wrestling programming that skewed heavily toward younger viewers. The advertisements featured visual chaos with explosions, fisheye camera lenses, and heavy metal audio that fed directly into 90s extreme culture. The formula was simple. Parents rolling their eyes plus kids laughing equals mission accomplished. While not obscene, the ads celebrated smashing property and defying adults, behavior that many schools actively discouraged. But for 90s kids steeped in wrestling culture, these were appointment viewing that perfectly captured the rebellious energy they craved and wanted to emulate. Number 1 on our countdown is the House Hippo PSA from Canada in 1999. Concerned children's advertisers created what might be the most effective media literacy campaign ever made. The commercial was a dead serious nature documentary parody that introduced the fictional North American house hippo, tiny hippos that nested in household clutter, ate crumbs, and dodged cats around Canadian homes. After showing detailed footage of these adorable creatures, the ad revealed it was a fake and urged kids to question what they see on TV.
All is quiet. Or is it? The North American house hippo is found throughout Canada and the eastern United States.
The problem was that many kids believed the hippos were real, at least initially, proving the PSA's point almost too well. The educational message was that it looked really real, but you knew it couldn't be true, so it's good to think about what you're watching. Canadian digital literacy groups noted how deeply the commercial lodged in childhood memory precisely because kids wanted to believe house hippos were real. 20 years later, the same organization brought back the house hippo to teach skepticism in the era of viral misinformation, showing that effective childhood media education can become a multi-generational tool for critical thinking about media consumption and digital literacy. These commercials created lasting shared cultural memories that people who grew up in the 1990s still actively reference today. Whether they were entirely appropriate or not, they undeniably became fundamental parts of the collective childhood experience that helped define an entire generation's complicated relationship with modern media and television advertising content.